Hello, class. This is your next installment, next episode of English with Brian, coming to you from my back porch. The weather's nice outside, slight breeze. The sun is shining, the temperature is comfortable, so I wanted to try something different. Also, the lighting is much better and better setup. I have a table, I have a chair. So, as long as the conditions stay okay, as long as the neighbor's dogs don't bark, the wind doesn't blow too much, or random beeping noises occur, I plan to keep on doing this. So we'll see what happens. But for now, this is where we're going to be. Today, we're going to be talking about Lesson C on page 100, as you can see here. I don't have to hold the board right now, which is kind of nice. Before we start, I wanted to talk a little bit about how you were doing. We find ourselves in a very new season, a new time of life. Many of us have not been in a season like this, and life feels maybe a little out of control. It feels chaotic. We do not feel like we have power over our life right now. We are told to keep apart from people. We are told to keep 6 feet apart from people other than our family. And we are trying to keep ourselves safe from something we cannot see. And we try to do the best we can. We wash our hands, maybe we cough, or we wear a mask. But we cannot always keep ourselves safe. We are fighting against something we cannot see, and something that we cannot always control. So in the season of being in a place where we feel or we think that so much is out of our control, what can we do to help maybe ourselves feel safe or feel better? And so I just wanted to talk shortly about about something you can think about, and then one thing you can do in this season when things seem so out of control. The first is recognizing or thinking about what are things that are out of your control versus things that are in your control. So the sun a little bit. There we go. What is out of your control versus or against what is in your control. For example, something that is out of your control is how long the virus lasts, right? And then ultimately, what is out of your control is if you will get sick. Straight. Go. Much better. So what is out of your control? How long? So 2 examples are how long the virus will last. Second is if you will get sick. And a more basic one maybe to think about is the weather. Those are 3 examples of things we cannot control. We have no power over the weather. We cannot stop the rain. We cannot completely stop the virus, right? We can do many things to keep ourselves safe, but we are fighting something that we cannot see, so it is out of our control, right? Maybe it is on something we get from the store that we do not see and we get sick. Right? We can do all the things we can do many things to try to keep ourselves safe, but ultimately it is not in our control if we can get sick. What are things in our control? Some things in your control are like washing your hands. That looks really bad. Let's see if I can write that a wee bit nicer. Washing your hands. You can do that. You have control over that. Washing your hands. The clothes that you wear. This is not necessarily related to our topic of the virus, but it's just an example of things in your control, right? Normally you choose the clothes you wear. Like I have control, I have power to choose this shirt, right? Another thing you have control over is how you react to hard things. How you react to hard things. Right? You cannot control the virus. You cannot control if you get the virus. But what you can control is how you react, how you respond to this time where we are being forced to be separate. How you can control how you react in this season where we feel chaotic, where we feel scared, right? You can choose, you can choose how you react, how you think about the situation. So for instance, many years ago I worked in the desert, and we would be out in storms, big thunderstorms, snowstorms, and we would not go inside during those times. And we cannot control the storm. We cannot stop the storm. We cannot say, snow, stay away. Wind, stop. We could not say, cold weather, warm up. Right? We had no control over that. We could not stop that. And those things, the weather, is a part of the life we live on this earth. What we could choose was how we responded to that storm. Right? We could choose to be miserable. We could choose to be unhappy about the snow. We could choose to be angry. And when we did, that would affect our relationships with the other people in the group. It would affect how we treated those people. Or we could choose to have a good reaction, a positive reaction. We could say, yes, this is hard, but it is not all bad. Like with snow. Snow can be very peaceful. It could be very beautiful, right? And so in this season, uh, as we feel this chaos, we feel this out of control, think about what is in your control and what is out of your control, right? Some things we cannot control, and that's okay. There are some things we can control, and we must choose how we are going to react to the things. And one of those things that we can control is how we react to things that are out of our control. So in this season, think about what can you think about? How can you respond that gives life, that gives hope, that brings relationship together in this season where things are seem out of control. As you think about things that are out of your control and things that are in your control, I want you to, here's one tip that I have been thinking about recently that has been helpful for me. So we have been out of class maybe, I guess now 2.5 weeks. And the first week we were on spring break. We think, oh, vacation, maybe. Life has a different pattern to it, a different routine. And now we are, spring break in one way has kept going. We have not gone back to class. And so we have had to find a new pattern, a new rhythm to what we are doing. And so in the season where things feel out of control and we are looking for ways for things that we can control, one thing that we can do to help set order, set a pattern to the chaos is to establish or reestablish a routine. Before the pandemic, many of us had a routine or a pattern. For me, that looked like getting up, getting up at a certain time, making coffee, having breakfast, showering, going to work, working all day, coming home. Now, my routine is very different, right? I am home all the time. I am with my kids a lot of the day. My old routine, my old pattern of doing life is not the same. And it is very easy to find new patterns that maybe feel comfortable, or maybe we try to use just to get by the situation or go through the situation, right? In this season, I think it is important to find a good routine for you and for your family. So I have found over the past couple weeks, and I found this with when I first had knee surgery, uh, I wanted something normal. I wanted something that felt that I could make a routine, that I could make a pattern. And so simple things like getting up, showering every day, putting on fresh clothes, little things like that can help in the season where things are different, where things are seen out of place, right? So my tip is to try to establish or reestablish some kind of routine in your life where you have things you do every day to help build out the day so that the day does not seem out of control, seem chaotic. So things like getting up, showering, eating meals regularly, maybe making a schedule for yourself where you, if you are having to homeschool your kids, make a schedule where they can do that every day at the same time, where maybe you and your family can go for a walk, or you yourself can have time where you can have alone time, right? It does not have to be a perfect schedule. and you do not have to keep it perfectly. But the idea is to build some kind of structure in your life now so that you can have some order and have some control over this time feels chaotic and feels out of control. So that's just one tip. And as we move throughout our lessons, I will try to come up with some more helpful tips. But for now, one, think about what is in your control and what is what is out of your control and versus what is in your control. And for those things that are out of your control, think about how you can respond or react to those things, because that is what is in your control. In the season of the virus, many things are out of our control. And it's important to think about how we can respond to that. And the second, more practical thing, the thing that you can do in your life, is create routine. Create a pattern of things that you can do, that you can predict, that you can expect, to help life feel normal again. And I encourage you, if that schedule doesn't happen perfectly every day, that is okay. It is just the idea of getting into routine. Because again, another thing out of our control is the day. We can make all the plans we want, but every day looks different. Every day is different. Different things happen, and we must choose how we respond when things don't react the way we want them to. So, all that leads us into our lesson for today. We're going to talk about participle adjectives. Fancy word. Have to know the meaning. Participle adjectives. So, we've been using participles. In our previous lesson, we used the present participle and also the past participle. So you already have an idea about participles. And the way we've used them, the way we've thought about them in the past, is that participles come from verbs, right? And so if you think back to the previous lesson, for the present perfect, we used the past participle. It was have plus the past participle. Or in the present perfect continuous, it was the have plus been plus the present participle. And a lot of times, the verbs, what we're doing to the verbs is we're adding ed or ing. This is probably more than you want to know and more than you have to know. But since I have the time, I'm going to geek out a little bit and explain some of the grammar for you. So that's what a participle is. It's a verb that takes on an ed or ing and takes on a new function. How we're going to use participles now, we're going to use them as adjectives. In English, every word has a job. And these verbs, their job as participles is going to be an adjective. And these verbs as adjectives are going to talk about how, let me change colors just to contrast. How we feel and what we feel about So these participles, these participle adjectives, what they're going to do is tell us how we feel, or another word would be our emotions. I'm out of practice of writing on a board, so let me try that again. Our emotions, how I feel, and then also what we feel or think about a situation or about something. So let me explain. Let's talk about our current situation in the pandemic. What are some words that describe how you feel about the pandemic? I feel scared. I feel tired or exhausted. I feel some of you might feel, maybe you feel excited. I don't know, but maybe that's how you feel. Or maybe you feel bored. Maybe you feel irritated, right? How do you feel? I feel scared. I feel tired or exhausted. I feel excited. Maybe my wife is excited that I am home all the time. Maybe you feel bored, or I am bored, or I feel, or I am irritated. Irritated means you something is bothering you. It is making you kind of angry. It's making you upset. That's irritated. Okay? Alright. Do it this way without plugging the computer. There we go. So, or we could say, how do you feel, or what do I feel about? And for this, we're going to talk about the pandemic. The pandemic is, instead of scared, scary. Sorry about the delay. The pandemic is tiring or exhausting. There it is. And I'll hold it up in a second so you can see more of it. Or the pandemic is boring. Or the pandemic is irritating. Or the pandemic is exciting. Maybe you are the person who likes following all the current news, and so this is exciting for you to keep up with all the news. Okay, so you will notice if I'm talking about me, if I use I, so you could have I all the way down where I am the subject. What you notice is the same about all of these words. They all end in ed. Scared, tired, exhausted, excited, bored, irritated, right? They all end in ed. When I'm talking about the way I feel, my emotions, I use ed. I am scared. I am exhausted. I am bored. But when we're talking about the way we think, way we feel towards something else, or towards the way we think about something else, well, scary didn't work out very well. But for the other ones, they all end in ing, right? When we're talking about the way what we think or we feel about something else, we use ing. When we're talking about the way I feel, ed. So let's look in our books and look at the examples on the top of page 100. You have I'm tired of this job versus this job is tiring. If you look at the subjects, the subject is key. When we're talking about adjectives that end in ed, I, or a person, could be he, she, Bob, Susie, Mary, you. We're going to use ed. But if we're talking when the subject is a thing, like job, we're going to use ing, right? So here's another example. So in our first example, I am the subject. In the second example, he's interested in this task. Here, he, it's a person. So how does he feel about the task? We're going to talk about ed. But if we're talking about the task, this task is interesting. So here, the subject is task. So I'm talking about the task. So the task is a thing. So I'm going to use ing. And then the third example says they're disappointed about their grades. We're talking about they. We're talking about people. So we're talking about the way they feel. So we're going to use ed. They are disappointed. They are not happy with the way something turned out, right? And then what are they disappointed about? The grades. In the second example, these grades are a thing, right? So how do we feel about that thing? ing. So these grades are disappointing. Okay? Flying through. Okay, so when we're talking about the way a person feels, I am bored, we use ed. When we're talking about the way a person feels, we use ed. I am bored. He is bored. She is bored. They are bored. Bored is when you do not know what to do and you are unhappy. You want something to do, right? My children have to stay home. They cannot go to the park, so sometimes they get bored. They do not know what to do. They do not know. They need me to give them something to do. But sometimes they might think the job I've given them is boring. So now, when we're talking about describing a thing, we're going to use ing. The job is tiring. The job is boring. Staying home is boring, right? The activity of staying home is boring for my children sometimes, okay? So, when we're describing a thing, we use ing. When we're talking about the way I feel, or you feel, or he feels, or they feel, or we feel, we're going to use ed. Okay? So here, I have a question for you. Here, can I say the teacher is boring, or do I say the teacher is bored? What do you think? The correct answer is yes. I can either say the teacher is boring or the teacher is bored. But I have to be careful. These say to the meaning behind these two sentences is different. This, the teacher is boring, maybe this is what the students think about the teacher. Maybe they feel the teacher is not interested. They do not think that the teacher is a good teacher. So this is what the class thinks about the teacher. The class thinks the teacher is boring. So if we wanted to talk about the class, we would say the class is bored. Why? Because the teacher is boring. We also can say the teacher is bored. Now we're talking about the way the teacher feels. Maybe students are not talking back to him. Maybe the subject or the material he is teaching is not very interesting to him. So maybe he is bored, right? Or maybe no students came, and so he is talking to the wall. He has no one to talk to, and so he is bored. He has nothing to do, right? But maybe the teacher is bored because the class is boring. Right? Now, he's not talking, he's not talking about, this is what he thinks about the class. Here, class, you see, here, class is talking about the people. The people are bored. The class is boring. The class is now a thing. It is a thing that we talk about. It is a thing that we can describe. It is the lessons being taught. It is maybe it includes the people, but it is all the things together. Okay. It is not the people here necessarily. It's not telling me how the class as people feel. It's talking about what the teacher thinks about the class. He thinks the class is boring. Here, the class, what does the class think? The people in the class, they think they are bored. Why are they bored? Because what do they think about the teacher? They think the teacher is boring. Here, the teacher is bored. Why is the teacher bored? Why does he feel bored? Because he thinks the class is boring. Okay? So, we have to be careful about what we are trying to say. When we're talking about what I feel, what I think, we're going to use ED, or what a person feels. If we're talking about what we think about a situation, or what we think about something, we're going to use ing, ing. Okay? Alright, so let's practice. On the bottom, in the middle of page 100, where it says practice, you're going to choose the correct form. Are we talking about a thing? Are we describing a thing? So we're going to use ing. If we're talking about the way I feel, we're going to use ed. So, for example, number 1. I heard that Juan and his friends went to a party after work. How was the party? All right, so what are we talking about? We're talking about the party. So are we talking about the way a person feels, or are we talking about describing a thing? We're describing a thing. So, if you are thinking ahead, we're going to use ing. It was really exciting or excited? Exciting, right? Because we're describing a thing. It is talking about the party. Okay? So I want you to practice 2 through 8, and tomorrow we'll go over, or in our next lesson, we'll go over the answers to that. So in addition to doing these, I want you to think back to the pandemic question and maybe write 5 sentences telling me you choose. Maybe have a sentence about the way you feel, or say something about the pandemic. Maybe you could say, I feel scared, or I feel frightened. Frightened is similar to scary. Or you could say the pandemic is frightening, right? So in addition to doing the exercise on page 100, I want you, if you have time, write 5 sentences, practicing using ed, the adjectives using ed and ing, describing how you feel or describing the pandemic. Okay? Feel free to text me those 5 sentences whenever you have a chance. I enjoy this time with you. I hope this is helpful. Feel free to reach out if you have questions or if you need any help, and we'll talk again soon. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.